We begin by watching a forbidden video kept by the Vatican. In the year 1972, two priests from Jerusalem managed to capture something that will leave us stunned. The footage shows them going to a place and finding a father and a son with expressions of worry and fear. The man claims that the woman he has is no longer the same as before, since she had died 3 days earlier and it would be impossible for her to be there among the living. The priests proceed to a place where men of various religions were performing exorcism rituals to expel any evil that might be in the woman. The images show the creature tied on its knees while, for 4 hours, the devoted men tried to act. However, nothing was concluded. Their last option was to use a blessed bullet, and, when they were about to kill the woman, the evil showed its bat wings and the woman fell lifeless. In the recording, we are told that there are 3 doors in the world that can connect to the abyss. One is in the ocean, another in the desert, and finally, in the holy city, Jerusalem. Back in the present, we meet the young Sarah, who receives a special technological ocular device from her father, Howard Pullman. After her father leaves, she decides to find out more about the glasses and finds games. She soon starts a zombie game. After the fun, she receives a message from her friend Rachel Klein saying she is ready for them to leave. They are about to take a trip together. Minutes later, she says goodbye to her father and goes to pick up her friend. While going down to the living room, amid the mess, she finds a photo of her deceased brother Joel, and the glasses technology recognizes him and identifies the death. Sarah, remembering the loss, goes to the bathroom and cries. Her father calls her, and then they drive to the friend's house. They pick up young Rachel, who was with her boyfriend Drake, and head to the airport. They say goodbye to Mr. Pullman and board the plane. Later on the flight, they meet Kevin, a sociable young man who likes to talk with the girls. He is an anthropology student and travels to many places, discovering and learning more about ancient cultures. Later, the young man shows a book to Sarah and, with it, Kevin says that evil is known in many religions by different names. For some, it is known as goblin, undead, or zombies. For others, they are called angel of darkness. Hours later, the trio arrives in Israel. The new friend invites the young women to Jerusalem for a tour. The friends talk to decide whether to go, since the tour was only to one of the nearby towns. Rachel questions her friend, but Sarah accepts the invitation and they go with Kevin to Jerusalem. While in the taxi, Sarah calls her father and says she is going to visit the holy city. When the group arrives, they pass by a street fair and then head to the marked destination. Sarah uses the glasses navigator, and minutes later, they arrive at a hotel. At the place, Sarah hears a strange phrase from an old man. She does not understand, but soon a Muslim named Omar Hazazi translates for the young woman, saying that she carries a different scent, something that refers to innocence. While for her friend Rachel, he says she carries the scent of a desert traveler. This leaves the friends confused, but they do not pay attention to the words said. Next, they go to the rooms to rest, and Omar invites them to take them to a place of fun later. After resting, Sarah wakes up in the late afternoon and realizes that there is no one else in the lodging except the strange old man from before who plays his stringed instrument. She approaches him to ask for information, but he does not stop, as if she were not there. Suddenly, Mr. Fauzi surprises her and says that the old man plays to scare away the evil spirits that haunt the place. The man says that there they believe in various beliefs, and Sarah says that she already believes in science and not in religious tales. The man praises the beautiful young woman, but warns that, without such beliefs, the young woman becomes a foolish being. Outside, a woman dressed all in black calls the young woman saying her friend is in danger. Sarah follows the stranger through the calm streets of the city, and they go to an alley, leaving her worried and fearful. However, the stranger soon reveals herself to be Rachel, who smiles at seeing her frightened friend. Then the friend takes Sarah to a high place to see the city, from where they can observe almost all of Jerusalem. In a small square, the trio meet Omar and have some fun dancing. At nightfall, the young people follow Omar to a bar, and when the others enter the place, Sarah stops and takes a photo of the street, but a child surprises her and takes her backpack. The boy runs faster than the young woman and makes her lose herself in the labyrinthine streets of Jerusalem. After the incident, inside the room with her friend, Sarah laments having been robbed, since inside the backpack was the glasses manual. The friend reassures her and the two get ready to meet the friends and enjoy the night. When they arrive at Omar's family room, they see they are watching the news, which say a brutal crime happened in the city streets. The girls question the fact and whether it is safe to go out that night. But Omar says the occurrence is made by despicable people who paint the walls red to claim a crime happened and scare people. After that, they leave, guided by Omar. But a man in costume named David says that the group of tourists needs to leave the city before the day of remission, claiming that, on that marked day, everyone will see something terrifying, although he says he is ready. The group of friends believes David is crazy and disregards his speech. Omar takes the friends to a bar with lots of drink and dance. While having fun, they meet two guards who, according to Omar, are the patrollers of the old city. Minutes later, Sarah takes Kevin to a separate corner to have a moment alone. While he uses her glasses, he sees photos of the young woman's brother hugging her and, being a little drunk and thinking it was an old boyfriend, says the guy must have been an annoying dude. The young woman ends the moment upset by Kevin's words. Sarah passes by the friend who gets involved with Omar and says she will return to the hotel. While walking the streets, she has problems with the technology when accessing the location map. She ends up getting lost and goes to dark alleys that cause fear. She begins to hear screams coming from a dark tunnel and becomes frightened. It is then that Kevin arrives and looks for the young woman. Sarah and Kevin reconcile and return to the room, where they have a romantic moment. The glasses are on and receive a message from Sarah's father asking how she is, since she has not given news yet. However, the young woman does not answer because she is in an intimate moment. After the romance, already late at night, Sarah wakes and notices Kevin is standing looking at the city through the window. He does not answer her, and, when she goes to him, the young man says he is frightened because he heard confused whispers and voices as if they were distant screams. They talk a little, and Kevin sends something for her to see through the glasses. He says he found the video on the internet, which we note is the same we saw at the beginning. She sees the terrifying event, but believes it is staged. The young man explains his theory about the old city, alleging that people return to life with evil spirits inside them, and that, by his studies, this does not always happen, but on a specific day, which religious leaders know something about and do not want to make public. Kevin believes that a day may be coming that many consider the day of the apocalypse, claiming that fallen angels and dead resurrecting will be seen, as written in several scriptures. She sees the terrifying event, but insists it is staged. He does not convince her, and Kevin leaves the conversation aside and goes back to sleep. The next day, Sarah and the friends continue the tour, and Omar is still the guide. The group passes by a mental hospital sanatorium where people with mental problems are interned. Omar says there are others in the city and that people who begin to have strange delusions are taken to these places and remain trapped there. Then they go to the Western Wall, where people leave their prayers and requests. Sarah, skeptical, not believing in religion, writes a request after the friend's insistence. She asks that her brother be brought back. Upon placing the request in the place, hundreds of crows fly over the area. After visiting the wall, the group goes to visit an ancient quarry of King Solomon underground. At a certain point in the cave, Kevin observes, along with the others, paintings of strange symbols on the walls, and the guide states that researchers have not yet deciphered them. Suddenly, Kevin begins to feel sick, and Sarah decides to lead him outside. He says something strange is in the city and needs to research more. Hours later, in the room, Sarah questions her friend, saying she is also finding the city strange and wants to leave. But Rachel says the city is closed, and they will enjoy just a little more. After the day of remission, they will leave. While Sarah admires the dress given by Kevin, he himself arrives knocking on the door and enters, saying they must leave immediately. She responds they will leave only the next day, but the young man claims there will be no tomorrow. Kevin seems disturbed and asks the young woman to believe him, since the others will not believe. Omar and Fauzi find the man's actions strange and call someone, saying they have a new problem. Then they take the young man without explaining anything to the girls. After a few minutes, Omar returns and talks to Sarah and Rachel, saying they took the young man for treatment and that in a few days he will be back well and healthy. Rachel says they need to rest because the day is special in the city and they need to be ready. Hours later, it is night, and Sarah goes to a high place to observe the city. Suddenly, an aerial attack happens at a point, and frightened, the young woman asks her friend to leave with her. An alert echoes throughout Jerusalem, leaving everyone in panic. They go to Omar, who was watching the news, and interpret it as a terrorist attack. Sarah tries to call her father, but the electricity and the glasses connection fail. Gunshots are heard in the area, and suddenly, the patrolling soldiers enter Omar's family hotel. The soldier tries to communicate, but no one responds. People ask for explanations, but the soldiers say nothing. However, a military voice echoes on the radios and warns everyone to leave the city of Jerusalem. The aerial attack continues, and helicopters fire, frightening the young women even more. The soldiers say they will take everyone out of the city and that they must run quickly. The group follows the military through the streets of the old city until they pass the sanatorium and Sarah stops. She wants to rescue the friend, an action that angers the others, because this is inappropriate in the moment of evacuation. Omar and Rachel head for the gates, while two soldiers stay with Sarah to go fetch the friend. The trio climbs the stairs of the place and notices that the place is abandoned and in chaos, but there are still people locked in the rooms. One of the patients is loose and, suddenly, attacks the soldier. His eyes are darkened and he seems possessed. After getting rid of the patient, they say they need to leave that place. Sarah asks for more time, but the two leave, leaving her there alone with the other patients. She runs and looks for her friend Kevin. Hearing the young man's screams, she manages to find him and soon looks for the keys to free him. Suddenly, she hears a scream, like a growl, coming from another room, and hides, frightened. She witnesses the bizarre scene of a possessed man who has a pair of wings on his back. The young woman finds the keys and, when she hides under a table, encounters David, who warned them about the day of remission. He says that what happens already happened when he was a child. They buried his mother, but on the day of remission, she returned to life in a strange and macabre way. Sarah discovers that the child seen in the video is David. He says he spent years talking about what he saw, but many considered him crazy. He tells Sarah that they need to get out of that place. The screams and growls continue to echo and the creature enters the room. A woman attacks the young woman, who desperately exits the room before they reach her. She goes to Kevin's cell and frees him. Desperate, they leave the sanatorium and find, in one of the alleys, Kevin riding a bicycle. The man directs them, claiming to know where the city exit is. A terrifying roar echoes, and when they look at the sky, they see a colossal monster walking over the old city of Jerusalem. Terrified, they take bicycles and leave. Minutes later, they reach one of the city exits and see many people wanting to pass, but the gates are closed. The friends reunite and become even more worried when the military receive orders to shoot David, who was trying to help fight the creatures. The panicked people go into hysteria, and Omar and his father decide to go to the church, thinking it would be safer. On the way, they join the patrollers, and, upon reaching the church door, a person is thrown from above by a winged demonic creature. They enter quickly, and inside the place find refuge. After calming down, Rachel questions the soldiers about what is happening. One of them, scared and anxious, says everything is under control, but the other, more communicative, says he will tell the truth. The man states that in schools, children are taught to be good and truthful because they must be ready for the day of remission. This day is a date when sometimes the sky opens and God judges all within the old city. But on this day, the gates of hell are open. Later, the friends talk and seek an option to leave the city. Fauzi says he knows a dangerous path, but that can help them. He tells of an underground labyrinth that will lead them out. Suddenly, Rachel shows a large colossal being crushing part of the city and no attack stops. One of the possessed humanoid creatures grabs her through the window grate and injures her neck. Fortunately, the group rescues the young woman and leaves for the tunnels. On the way, Fauzi becomes ill and needs to stop, and then Rachel begins to cough. When the friend goes to see how she is, she notices the wound on the neck. Kevin, after looking at the wound, calls Sarah to talk and says they need to inform the others, stating that what the young woman has is contagious, as they saw in the sanatorium. Sarah, fearing they will kill the friend, says they will take her to the doctor, but Kevin states they could become contaminated and end up all dying, or worse, turn into the creatures. Unfortunately, the fact that Sarah saved him forces him to help try to save the friend. The group heads for the labyrinth, but before reaching the destination, Rachel begins to vomit blood, which worries the soldiers. They check her and confirm the wounds. Knowing of the contamination, they threaten to shoot, but Kevin places himself in front. Suddenly, a possessed creature appears behind them. It stays still while the soldier shoots, but the attack has no effect. Surprisingly, the aberration attacks the man and kills him quickly. The others run without being able to do anything. The group enters the cave, grabs helmets with flashlights, and enters the labyrinth. Fearing the darkness, Sarah takes the sword from an armor on display. Fauzi guides them to a point where there are 2 passages, and Rachel becomes ill again. When Sarah approaches to help the friend, she notices her eyes are darkening. The soldier tells Sarah this is not good, because soon she will become possessed. Upon finding the right path, they hear screams of despair and monstrous roars echoing in the cave. The great monster inside the old city causes tremors and slight collapses. The group continues until Sarah touches Rachel, who no longer appears lucid. The young woman is possessed and attacks Sarah. The others restrain her and shoot at the young woman, but this does not kill her. What is inside her makes her attack the soldier until killing him. Chaos and terror begin, and more transformed creatures and others, like zombies, appear in the cave and try to attack the remaining ones. Sarah, in the chaos, falls and is knocked out while her glasses film the others' desperation running. Minutes later, she wakes and realizes that the friend still breathes, but with a somber expression. Still conscious, Rachel asks her friend to run before she loses control. Sarah picks up the device and sees the friend with a weapon. Thus, when Rachel begins the demonic transformation, the young woman decides to end her suffering with a shot. Hearing noises and footsteps nearby, Sarah raises the sword and observes the darkness around with the helmet's flashlight. In panic, she calls for the others, and upon startling Fauzi, ends up injuring him with the blade, which kills the man. Kevin and Omar return, and without wasting time, take Sarah with them. The trio shelters in a point of the labyrinth without knowing where to go next. Terrified and fearing for their lives, Kevin begins to pray. Sarah follows the friend's prayers, but Omar, out of his mind, ends life right there. The duo hears macabre sounds and realizes something is approaching, so they turn off the lights. The creature approaches, and the glasses technology captures the image of the aberration, recognizing it as Sarah's brother, Joel, who returned to life as a possessed monster. He soon disappears and appears again at one of the entrances. Kevin suspects the being wants to show something and leads them to follow it. Soon the pair find a light that may be the exit, and Sarah wants to communicate with the deceased brother, but Kevin pulls her away. Both reach an ancient underground chapel and face a grated tunnel. Sarah falls to the ground and realizes that her wounds are serious. She knows those wounds were caused by the previous attack, and upon leaving the tunnel, begins to feel sick, as does the friend. Suddenly, she approaches young Kevin, who is stunned to see the friend transforming into something demonic with wings. The being takes flight, and the glass's view then shows the city in chaos being destroyed by thousands of flying beings, fruits of the Day of Remission.